Welcome to Football is Nice, a football podcast where we talk about the culture and the deep underlying truths of football and how ultimately they're nice. With me, Russell Brand, and Gareth Roy, produced, if you can call it that, by Jenny May Finn. This week we'll be, of course, like everyone, talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjær. We'll be talking about, well, Frank McAvenie's joining us. This is my favourite ever player, along with Paolo Di Canio, and struggle to say the word that he's known by.
Start as we mean to go on.
That's right. Let's get those errors in early, right in the introductory phase.
I mean, before we came on air, it's me now.
It's contagious. It's the new pandemic.
What's happening?
It's a malapropism pandemic. No one can speak.
Oh, God.
It's the Tower of Babel all over again. God is angry with us. Is he God angry with us, though, Cal? Why would he be?
No.
We've got our predictions. We've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to go on tour next year. That's just promo. That's all that is. We're both wearing lovely tops. You're wearing
let's talk about tops.
Coloured Roma top of Hull's third strip.
Hull's third strip. Yeah, this has come from Hull City themselves this
You're
week.
developing a rapport with Hull, finally.
Well, apparently they got in touch with Jade and said, could they have my personal email because they want to do something with me, which obviously is extremely exciting.
You've got to do it, and I'll be sort of so fascinated to watch this unfold and where it leads you, because I've had my own personal journey with West Ham, who, for all their faults, are a top flight club. Like, well, I can't imagine what's going to go on with your relationship with Hull.
I don't think it's going to be anything like yours with West Ham. But I mean, my attitude towards them is I'll do anything. Yeah,
that's what my attitude was to, and remains to West Ham. Whatever you need, any mess you need cleared up, I'm your willing servant.
Yeah.
We're fools. We're mad
We
fools.
are. I know, it's funny, isn't it? In certain areas of your life where you'll do anything.
Bypasses logic. Children, animals, and your football team.
That's it.
Have you reviewed the show yet? The Caveman Jesus has. What a good name, the Caveman Jesus. I'd like to... Would there have been a Caveman Jesus? There would have been shamanic figures. There would have been people saying, look, we've got to stop all this killing these mammoths. We're all one, us and the mammoths. They go, look, mate, we're hungry. Leave them alone. Look, that's just my speculation on your name. Love this podcast. If I could give it more than 5 stars, I would. Personally, this is my favourite of 2021. Russell, Gareth, Jenny. Beautiful trio. Hashtag football is nice. Jamie King. Thank you for that lovely review.
There has to be a limit, though.
To number of stars. Right.
Because ultimately, he's working with the maximum amount. I mean, if he could give more, what would it? There has to be a cut-off point, doesn't there?
The terrifying truth about numbers is they don't ever end.
No.
That's a terrifying truth. There's a limitlessness to reality. We live within limitation, and because of that, we're ultimately doomed to set up local customs and have superstitions because we're operating within the limitless.
Yeah, I think that's why they limit it to 5.
5, because otherwise you're stopping. Hang on a minute, the cosmos is limitless. There are parallel, give us a multiverse of stars on iTunes.
Too long thinking about that and not writing the actual review.
This person has just cracked on and given us 5. Ben Foz. Could it be Ben Foster?
Oh, that'd
friend
be nice.
Of the show.
That'd be nice.
Love the podcast much better than Sarah Marshall. Aha! It's a jibe. It's a jibe. It's a jibe, I tell you. Brand's Brilliant Best by Fox Force 4. It's a long thing. It says short, sweet contributions from Jenny May Finn. If only they were shorter and even sweeter. It uses the phrase insightful nuggets.
Oh.
I knew you'd like that. Or hate it.
You know that snippets, nuggets, things that have got on the end like that, I query them. 2-syllable words anyway. But anyway, I'm glad of that review from... Thank you for that, Fox Force 4. Thank you. Keep it up, they sell us. Thank you. They love it. I like that one that criticised us quite aggressively. It says the guests don't get it, it's poorly researched and stuff, and then still gave us 5 stars. Simply to be kind.
When you hear the word nuggets, is it because you think about feces?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought it might be.
Because there's the food poop crossover.
Yeah. As in chicken nuggets.
Yeah, chicken nuggets. But there's the only things that come in nuggets are... poo, chicken, gold, and wisdom. That's the Nugget Quartet. That's the Nugget Beatles.
Yeah. And we're only two of those.
Yeah, probably Pete Best and Stuart Sutcliffe. We was nearly in that band. It was a simple twist of fate, sliding doors moment.
Before you came into the meeting this morning, the gang, as I'm going to call them, were talking about an episode of Jamie Oliver. It might not have been an episode, a video of Jamie Oliver in which he makes chicken nuggets for some children.
Right.
It amused me because I think that the goal of this was for the children to be so disgusted by how chicken nuggets are made that it puts them off and spreads a kind of message. And apparently, as he was making them out of all the
Mush
worst,
and eyes.
the worst bits, there was lots of and
Yeah.
and then he actually coated them in
breadcrumbs.
And then he said, "You see, who wants to eat it now?" And they all said yes.
The sweet power of the nugget.
Yeah.
Even Jamie Oliver, with all of his culinary trickery, explaining, would any of us be able to... They say that the only places you're not able to see is where our waste goes, where our food is made, and where bodies go. These are everywhere else is under surveillance, is under constant observation. Jamie Oliver tried to show you where your food comes from. The literal William Burroughs, what's it called? Naked lunch moment. What's on the end of your fork? Where are you in this moment? You are eating chicken gizzards. But once there's breadcrumbs on it, to eat anything in a breadcrumb.
Yeah. Not just will eat, want to eat.
Yeah, right. It's not, oh, God, all right. It's like enthusiastically, yes, please. So, look, if I just strain, look at those nuggets. Now I just roll them in breadcrumbs. Hooray! Hand them over, Jamie, for heaven's sake. This is a school dinner we can salute.
We don't even want dips with that.
Magnificent. No sense in their dipping. Of course, we've got my football breakdown coming up. Of course, we've got Frank McAvenie coming up. Of course, we've got Gareth's football observations of the week. Got to think of a better title for that bit. Of course, there's going to be some jingles. Of course, Jenny May Finn will pipe up something about Norwich, her beloved Norwich, for whom she would bleed yellow blood. And I imagine her blood's yellow anyway. She says, how do you feel about Norwich losing 7-0 to Chelsea?
Yeah, I was a bit upset about that.
Yeah, tell me the moment. Explain the moment.
I was doing the fixtures and results page
for this podcast,
and I saw it said 7-0. It reminded me
what day was that on, Jen?
Yesterday. And then the bit about you talking about goalkeepers after 5.
Did you? Yeah,
that's
we
sad.
Did.
See,
yeah, we preceded
reminded
that
me of that. Yeah.
Poor Kroll.
Cruel,
Tim Krul.
Poor Kroll.
No, poor Tim Krul.
Yeah, because actually Krul did his best, didn't he? Bless him.
Kroll.
Saved a penalty, retook the penalty, and I mean, nothing was going on.
You must feel bad if you save a penalty and then the penalty gets retaken and it goes in. And it also, you could really bias your family and friends' opinion had they not seen the game. How did the game go? I saved a penalty. Well done.
Yeah.
It must have been a good game. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Just
That's
hold
the end
in
of
your
the
mind. I'm talking about something else now. Look, there's a lot going on in the world. Football's a happy distraction, but let's drill down and focus on corruption.
This is Russell's Football Breakdown.
This is Russell's Breakdown.
Russell's Breakdown.
I like your breakdowns.
Is clockwork an appropriate simile in the digital age? This team is playing like clockwork. That's not good enough, is it? We've got iPhones now. Like he kept saying, Martin Keown, that Reece James was taking things out of the sky. Said he tickled something out of the sky. I thought, my God, that sounds like something that Christ would do.
Yeah, and he keeps calling Bernardo Silva little man.
Yeah, don't say
Which
that.
I wouldn't
to him.
like to
He
hear.
might not like that.
No.
He might not like it. Theo Walcott's taking a risk with that haircut, I would say, if he doesn't start scoring more. Do Everton like Rafa, and why is Josh King wearing a bra?
A lot of them wear
I see it in
football bras
training.
now.
I might get one. Why do you? Is it posture? Is it breathing?
I've no idea.
Have you seen them, Jen?
It's a training
No,
bra,
but why would
basically,
you
for
opt
men.
for that? Oh, is it because of the nipples?
Oh,
no, it can't be about the nipples. Who cares about the nipples? Get on with it.
No, because their shirts are quite tight now, aren't they?
Yeah, you never know, Joe.
That can't be for chafing, Jenny. Like you just put a nipple, you just put a pasty on, like a little plaster on the
So
nip.
maybe they've come up with an item of clothing.
Because it's very restrictive, I would think, and it's got to be about posture. Josh King's football bra got a lovely hat trick, and then for the second goal, I think.
Yeah, because now it got.
Or maybe he blew it on the first one because he would have had a yellow for an inappropriate celebration.
Yeah, I think maybe he did because he was so pleased to be scoring against Everton.
His former club Everton, who sort of snided him.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago when I think England were at the maybe the Euros back then or the World Cup, And it was revealed like, oh, look at all these England players in bras.
Yeah.
Basically, I think this was a tabloid story.
Look at this. England players in bras, male ones, mind.
But it was very much like, oh, we didn't know this went on, and maybe people were a bit embarrassed about it. And now you've got Josh King like proudly
Wearing a
showing
bra.
off his bra, which
They're
all
not
power
very
to him.
decorative.
No, they could. There's a market.
There's a market.
There's a market.
for bras. Okay, finally, Jordan Pickford could be an actor in a show like Call the Midwife, or as an absent dad in The Bill. And not many people have hair like that anymore.
It would have been in
where
the
you
north.
can see the comb marks
Yeah.
through the hair.
Yeah, heavy grease, isn't it?
Heavy grease. He's like, always looks like, he's like, when you see him like talking or whatever, Jordan Pickford,
Yeah.
he's always like, what do you mean? Mind your own bloody business.
Yeah, he
So he's
does.
sort of saying that, like,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
anything that happens. That's his-
Come on, mind your own bloody business. It's Jordan Pickford. What do you mean? You had to tackle on Virgil van Dijk's, put him out and say, mind your own bloody business.
Would he be the anomaly in Call the Midwife? Like, because they're northern, aren't they? I've never seen it, but I'm guessing.
Well, I don't
they're
even know
northern.
if Jordan Pickford's northern or not. I can't remember seeing him
Oh,
interviewed.
he's from Sunderland, isn't he?
He's from Sunderland. Is that where they got him?
Yeah, he came from Sunderland. Yeah.
Well, mind your own bloody business. It's just that I felt like the energy.
He can do them all.
Welcome.
You remember the films?
1,000 voices, several hats, one of the great
One
actors.
hairstyle.
Here he is. He won't cut his hair. Eventually, that's going to limit his opportunity. It's happened.
This is Russell's football breakdown.
This is Russell's breakdown.
Russell's breakdown.
I like your breakdowns.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that in a week where there is a 7-0 scoreline, that's not the game that we'll be mostly talking about today.
We won't, because it's one of those rare cultural moments where there's an explosion of
Yes.
events where everything came together beautifully and perfectly. In a sense, you could see it as an ongoing narrative of Manchester and Liverpool that's well, it's not as old as time, it's as old as their football team. Well, no, it's a bit older than their football teams, because apparently, and there'll be people that can obviously tell me the exact social history of this, that the reason that there is an intense rivalry between those two cities is that Liverpool was a prosperous city because of its docks, and then Manchester built a canal that meant, like, there used to be a sort of a partnership between Liverpool and Manchester. The goods and produce would arrive in Liverpool, then all the Liverpool union workers or whatever, dock workers, would deal with that, and then it would be transported to Manchester. Then they built a canal directly to Manchester. It's
Oh,
like,
wow.
you can unpack your little boats here, baby, to hell with those Scousers. And from then, the rivalry began. And you'll notice that as well as a Red Devil, who's never really been explained, there is a ship on both the emblems of Manchester and City and United, even though
Yeah.
Manchester is, I think it's not got a dock, has it? It's got a canal. Anyway, as far as I know, that's the truth. So that's the beginning of this rivalry. Then, of course, they've been historically been great football teams, relatively close to one another. Then, I'm missing some major details. Ronaldo arrives, and it seems like, wow, okay, this is our Man United going to compete. People like sophisticated pundits and people that know the game well said, nah, they're going to struggle to carry Ronaldo. He's going to affect the press, and even we discussed it as a result of hearing it. And now, finally, this all comes together. And this, last week we were saying, no, they'll have a response because they, of like losing the week before.
Which I guess they did in Europe, didn't they? They came back and won that game against Atlanta, which they were 2-0 down in.
But Paul Scholes said,
He did. That was a great clip from the week, wasn't it?
what was it? Can you tell me?
Scholes was just saying if they play like that against Liverpool, they will get, against any good team, they will come undone. And he was he was absolutely right. And I think he got a lot of stick for it, for people saying, they've just won, just celebrate, enjoy the win. 3-2, it's fantastic. What a comeback. And I don't think Paul Scholes is known as being the kind of most upbeat of pundits, but with regard to this, he got it completely right. And it's interesting, Neville, a lot of the old United players have been calling this all season, and it's great because it shows that they do know what they're talking about. I know they both get a lot of stick. I think Neville in particular is brilliant, but they were absolutely right, weren't they? United were just completely picked apart.
Do you think that there's a sort of an ongoing appetite to, once one manager's gone, Bruce, that the sort of the happy blade of the media looks for its next victim to execute? It's like, right, well, we didn't get Arteta, we nearly had him, but then he turned it round. No, it's not, we can't get him.
Not yet.
Not yet, no, but we'll have you. And then now it's firmly, the sword of Damocles is hovering above Solskjaer.
I heard someone on Twitter, well, I didn't hear them, I saw them write that this week's game with Man U and Spurs is being dubbed El Sakiko, which I like.
That's a good pun.
Yeah.
That's a very, very, very good pun. Right, so for both teams, dissatisfied. Both of them have got managers, like in the case of Spurs, they were never really happy because I wasn't really aware, but that the luster had come off Nuno at Wolves. So I sort of was still thinking, everyone loves him at Wolves, but apparently that had begun to fade a bit.
I think they're very appreciative of what he did because they had, I think, 2 seventh place finishes under Nuno. And the last season, I mean, they'd sold Jota and they had some injuries, and obviously the injury to up front.
Oh, right, yeah, Hernandez or Jimenez.
To Jimenez up front, sorry. I think there were lots of reasons why Wolves didn't have as good a season. And maybe, I think by the end of it seemed like he felt like he'd done all he could at Wolves. But I think he's still very highly regarded. But you're absolutely right, Spurs fans were not, elated by the prospect of him. I think mainly because he doesn't play the kind of football that they want to play. They want to play exciting football, and he's not known as that at all.
Is football run by very impulsive people? Because I was thinking that if I had a football team and I was going to sack the manager, one of the things I'd do before that would be I'd have a little couple of chats with other people in the football management game. Say, look, keep it under your hat, because this is not strictly legal what I'm doing here. But I'm thinking of sacking the manager. You've seen the results. You follow football, do you? Yes, I do. I watch it from my house here in Italy. Right, well, I'm thinking of getting rid of our manager because it's not going well. Would you be, in the event I do that, do you want the job? Yeah, si, bueno, buongiorno.
Is this Conte?
Yeah, it's Conte. I look a little bit like the bloke from Labrinth, for shows a little girl around a maze, isn't it? Ogle, I think he's called.
You've nailed his accent, haven't you?
That's all right, yeah. I've done a lot of work on this. If you remember Ogle from Labrinth, he's the little geezer what shows the little girl around a maze, or Labrinth as it's sometimes called. And he looked like Conte.
Right.
And that's all there is to it. I pointed out to a friend of mine, Parker, who supports Chelsea, in the first flush of Conte's sort of glory at Chelsea, he was unhappy.
Yeah, well, of course.
He was angry that I would say that, even.
Yeah, because we get very attached to the managers.
Yeah, I didn't like it when you said
protective.
Moyes looked like he was an old man and that he should be delivering food to himself in the COVID crisis.
Well, you said last week that he was delivering food to the elderly.
Kind. What a kind
And I pointed
guy.
out that maybe
Something's more important football.
he'd just
delivering
been
food.
shopping. No, I mean, I think
Cruel.
something else we said last
Cruel. It's not just playing in goal for Norwich what makes you cruel. It's being out of order to Moyes that makes you cruel. And you just, we're going to have to retake that because penalty, because you are cruel. Yeah, that's right. Get it?
It's really good.
This is what I do for a job. So if you are interested in learning from my school of comedy, it's a new course I'm running.
But I think we said, actually, that Moyes looks better than ever at the moment.
I love him.
Doesn't
I love
he?
him dearly.
Looks great. West Ham won again. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about
Hold on,
Man
we
U.
talked a bit about the sword of Damocles hovers above all. It will descend. And now they want Solskjaer's blood. And they're going to get it. Because it was like people were saying, he's going to go to the end of the season no matter what. No one cares.
Neville in particular was saying that, yeah.
Sorry for sniffing. Yeah, but now it seems a little bit different, don't it? Because that's because as well, it was on the telly. It's the Super Sunday game. It's like it's at Old Trafford. Oh, it was a real thing. The sending off of Pogba, that little foul of Ronaldo on Trent.
Yeah, where
like
he kicked him.
It just looked like this is not good, man.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? All the worst signs were there, weren't they? And then I think Ollie's had quite a lot of criticism about post-match, as has Harry Maguire. I think Maguire came out and said, "I'm only here because I have to be." And what I've heard pointed out is that is not a thing that you say as a captain. You don't say, "I'm only here explaining our performance because I have to be." You
This
come
is my
out.
obligation, and there's a deal with Sky where you have to provide a certain number of players, then for secondary media outlets such as the BBC and possibly even some foreign, like this part of the contracted deal. Don't explain to us the mysteries of the financial world.
In a way, it'd be better if they did do that, wouldn't it? Then they come out and give an explanation that's not really an explanation, because that's not what the fans want. And I think that's in the case of Ole as well. It doesn't feel like what he's coming out is doing is coming out and owning this situation, which you feel like any of those, again, talked about a lot, but any of those other top 3 managers would do. You know, if Klopp came out and they'd had a defeat like that he'd find a way of not this making sense, but that still gives the Liverpool fans confidence that this is under control, that it's a blip, that it's under control, that there's a plan. And I think people just feel like with Ole, it's just not. There isn't one.
I don't have a keen enough eye until I see the analysis to sort of work out things like, see, look at that. What's the point of Fernandes running up to the goalkeeper? Oh, no, they're not. Look at Fred. He got bored there. Like, I don't see it until they point it out to me. I mean, see a disarray of ineptitude. But like what is clear is that a manager is got to be like a cyclone of held intensity. Like that, Tuchel's got sort of like a blade-ish intellect to him. Klopp's got that great white railings of pearlescent charisma. Guardiola, his sort of brooding sexuality and his stupid melting badge that he loves so well as he's transitioned now into a puffer, hasn't he? His winter puffer's out now.
Yep.
But like what? Yeah. This is.
It's not there with Ole, is it?
No one thinks that this will be resolved ever. I mean, I sometimes think like it's comparable in a way to the financial thing, right? Like every time another Newcastle happens or another team sort of get, I think I as a West Ham fan, oh no, that's another. Eventually, we drop another place down the pecking order once they sort their shit out financially, and like with. Like, how can you've got the only way to compete with those 3 teams and those 3 managers now is you've got to have your own one of them. You can't, even if that would have worked in some other historical period to have a nice guy type manager. Because when was the last anomaly like this? Ranieri, like someone who seemed like he wasn't like evil, well, not necessarily evil, but like sort of a sharp-minded, potentially megalomaniacal kind of dude. You know, I don't sort of really know how that happened. Again, like I'm sort of shocked again by Leicester because some of them people were managing. Well, I think was he there yet? Was Pep there yet?
Yes.
Was Klopp there yet?
Yeah, Wenger was there at Arsenal. I think, a lot of people explain it, and this is probably isn't the right way to frame it. It's just that a lot of other teams had very... sorry, it wasn't... Pep wasn't there. No,
Pep
that was
there
Pellegrini
yet.
Was there. And a lot of people said that, other teams just had bad seasons. Arsenal
It must have been
should
quite
have
bad
won it.
because West Ham nearly come 4th and like Spurs ended up coming 3rd, didn't they?
That's
they were
right.
second a lot of it. Yeah, it was an anomalous.
It was anomalous
season.
Not that they weren't incredible, which they were.
Yeah, and if you think about the players they had then, that have left, and like Mahrez and Kante to name like but 2.
That's right.
That's I suppose so. But like I can't. Yeah, it's weird. Also, it's worth noting that Laura, my wife, says he looks too much like Andy Serkis, aka Gollum.
Yeah.
So he's a bit Gollum-y, and maybe that's part of the problem. He's after that.
That's not been discussed yet. And
No
I
one
think
said is it the
should be.
Gollum problem?
It could be that.
The problem. So there's a lot to resolve there.
I feel like one thing that hasn't been brought up this week, and like obviously in this podcast that we do, we're never going to cover the kind of stuff that other podcasts do. But one thing I've not heard on any other podcast, when people talk about the progress of United under Ole, which there has been, finishing second last season, that was progress when the kind of mess that they seem to be under Mourinho, the kind of atmosphere around Old Trafford that there seemed to be. And obviously there was that feel-good factor that he brought back. It seemed like the players enjoyed playing for him again, all that kind of stuff.
Sorry about that, mate.
Is this a reaction to my point?
I disagree strongly. Yeah, go on.
But one thing people haven't said is that the other teams, hence like Liverpool and Chelsea, just weren't very good last season. Liverpool had tons of injuries.
It's the same as that Leicester thing.
Exactly. Chelsea were faltering under Lampard until Tuchel came along, and then he didn't have enough time. But if Tuchel had been there all season, Chelsea would have finished second.
Yeah.
If Liverpool had their injuries, they would have finished second, or potentially first. But Man United would not have finished second. So this thing of like Ole came and he turned it around and every season's been better than the season before, I'm not sure. Like you say, it's the facts are he just isn't those other 3, and he seems to be a long way off those other 3. And it's kind of amazing that in a business, and it is a business that Man United are, that they didn't see this much sooner, because ultimately it must have an impact on finances at some stage, surely. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe maybe there's other ways in which it works now.
My mate Perry says Zidane.
Really? Well, the thing is, like, because Conte has been, he just says, that's all he says.
And this is the first time it's ever made sense. Because he's been saying it for ages.
Years.
Zidane. And
Yeah.
what does he mean? And then he said it this way. I thought, as a replacement for Ole. Yes!
That's
This is what
it.
he's been trying to tell us all these years. Even when Zidane was still a player. It was brilliant. Before Zidane. Yeah.
Because Conte has been trending this week, hasn't he? I mean, hence your fantastic impression of Conte.
Accurate.
Very accurate.
Chilling, some have said. It's uncanny, like Conte was conjured here. A phantom. What are you thinking over there, Phil Spector? That's Jenny,
that's
our
what Gareth
producer.
said
I'm
as
wearing
well.
dark glasses.
Yeah.
Phil
But they
Spector.
should really be dark, but yeah.
What are you wearing them for?
I like them.
Got any views? Like, what's happening in your mind while this conversation's happening?
I'm trying to think how to spell all the managers' names.
Wow, that's what Rain Man would do.
Yeah.
Well, I have to log it.
Mourinho.
So I'm like, Conte, because you're pronouncing it different.
I see. Yeah.
Well,
And the
Gareth,
other one's Salty
generally
something.
speaking, Gareth does speak Italian, is half Italian, and has a long history of saying names right. So, in the event,
But yeah, so like Conte, as a lot of people say, actually, I say Conte, but actually, yeah, the Italians would say Conte, and I've heard a lot of Italians pronounce it like that. But yeah, so he's trending. But Neville, I always come back to Gary Neville just because I rarely listen to Gary Neville and don't agree with him. I think he's so insightful.
he was floundering a bit, mate, after the game.
He was floundering a bit. You're right.
And Carragher and Souness, them like that old Uncle Curmudgeon Souness and Chippy Carragher,
Yeah.
they were closing in on him.
Well, because ultimately he refuses to really blame Ole,
the
doesn't
knife
he?
in.
He's not going to say United should sack Ole, and everyone else is saying, well, all the evidence points to the fact that they should, which I think, is I think that's only to his credit, to be honest. But yeah, it does mean that he's going to flounder under.
What I think sometimes is when ultimately they do sack Ollie,
Yeah.
where's he going to get? What's his next job going to be?
Well, there was a poll amongst Cardiff fans of whether they'd want him back, and they said they didn't.
He's not going back to Cardiff.
And they've just sacked Mick McCarthy, so they need someone.
Right.
But yeah, I know it's a tricky one.
Another door closes.
Yeah,
All right. There's a few more things that I want to point out.
go on.
And we might as well finish my observations about this game. First, my main observation is that there is a sort of a psychic force that always requires the sacrifice of a manager. There will always be someone that is that manager, that the machine of destruction is vampirically moving towards. And now it is Ole, has been intermittently for a while, because they've had Bruce, they've got him. Bruce is gone.
He's gone.
And now
Bless
it's
him.
moving on to Ole. The Ronaldo foul, I didn't sort of really like to see that very much, because I felt like Trent is all sort of young and beautiful, and like to see Ronaldo kicking at him, it felt a bit like Snow White when the stepmother, who is in this case Ronaldo, sends Snow White away to live with. Actually, well, they got with her because she met those little guys that she lived with for a while. But regardless, Trent's Snow White, and he's the queen in that. So that's, I just want to pass that on to TalkSport if you want to use that.
How much of the following highlights do you miss when you're coming up with these analogies? Like, do you miss like the next few minutes of Match of the Day?
To tell you the truth, I don't. I just note that here it just says Ronaldo foul telling moment, and then when I tell you, I think
see.
I try to hone in on what it is I'm actually feeling,
Got
and
it.
then some little voice inside of me, like little Jenny's spelling voice. My one says things like Snow White, and then I say it out loud and see what's happening.
Yeah.
I've never seen that external shot. Like, I watched the game as best I could on my phone because I had gigs that day. Oh, this was a well funny moment, right? When I went on stage at Dartford, right, I was late. I was like half hour late.
Not like you.
On stage at Dartford, right? And I come on, right? And it goes, right, and it was West Ham was playing Tottenham, right? And I goes, sorry, I'm late. And someone went, what's the score? I went, 0-0. It was a really lovely exchange. I really felt like we knew each other.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm late. What's the score? 0-0. Because I'd been watching it. It was half time.
That's so nice.
Thought I must wait till half time.
Yeah. Transparency.
Yeah.
It's what we all want. It's what the United fans want.
We want transparency. Sorry, Jenko.
It's 20 minutes to Frank.
20 minutes to
If
Frank.
you want to do your
Not
Frying
quite
pan.
yet.
Okay.
Not quite.
We're working towards it, Phil. With your wall of sound, with your wall of spelling, Phil Spector, Django. All right. That external shot of fans leaving, like that they used in Match of the Day, I've never seen that shot used before in coverage.
Right.
Like, how wide are we going? Right, we're going close up on the face of a player, medium wide to see if like players in a dispute, the wide overhead even. There was a shot where you could see people outside, like the Lowry painting that our man depicts, like our friend Squires depicts.
Yeah.
So why, mate, are they suddenly using externals of Old Trafford?
I know I can, give a few little tidbits every now and again, but I can't answer that one.
You can't?
I have no idea.
Whose idea is it to set up an external shot?
Is it a drone?
It's a drone.
Maybe it's just the drone guy doing what he wants.
Well, normally the drone is over the stadium, so you see the pitch and and obviously the kind of whole stadium.
Who in the gallery is saying cut to the exterior?
Well, I guess maybe when someone went, they're all leaving.
Get the drone.
They probably said, right, go a bit wider.
They could make football coverage an art form. Go super close on the mascot's face, even closer, really close on his lifeless face.
Yeah,
Like
lifeless.
That. Well, it is lifeless because it's
Oh, the mascot. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's just foam and stuff.
You're absolutely right.
It is good that the United fans carried on singing. I like a bit of spirit.
Yeah, and the Liverpool fans were very funny as well, weren't they?
What were they saying?
Ollie at the wheel. That was the.
They took over.
Ollie at the wheel. They really loved it. They want him to stay.
I wouldn't like that. It's not nice when your opponents can ridicule you humorously like that.
And then there was the shot of Dalglish and Ferguson, wasn't there? The one with Ferguson where he was like,
fair enough. Oh, shit. And Ken Douglas having the time of his life.
He really was. I mean, of course.
He looked blissful. Right, and then my final point is that Mohamed Salah is transcended into a realm where he's playing on, like, as if there's an archetypal grid of perfect football that's pre-existing, and if you tune yourself in, you can operate on it. Even that goal where it was crossed in from the right, and he just sort of guided it. Like, it's like, oh my God, he's operating on a sort of a sublime level.
It's intuition, isn't it, at this point? I mean, there was that one that he overhit as well. I don't know if you saw that one that he slightly overhit and that De Gea should have come to get, or sort of come to block, and he still scored. And it's when those go in, where you're like, that wasn't even like a kind of perfect goal, and he still scored it. And it just, that you're right. They're operating at a different level at that point, and it's confidence, isn't it? I think it was Klopp who said. Speaking about like confidence and momentum, I love this quote. He said, because the thing about Klopp as well, he's very realistic. He didn't come out and just say, yeah, we're amazing, we killed them, we're absolutely rampant, we're the greatest team in the world. He said, we could have gone 1-0 down if Fernandes had scored earlier on. We had to weather the storm, blah, 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 blah. But then he said this thing about momentum, which kind of fits in with your thing about Salah. And he said, it's not about quality. And he's right. Look at United's squad versus Liverpool squad. He said, it's momentum. When you have it, treat it like a little flower and keep it as long as you can because it's hard to get it back.
My God.
I love that from Klopp.
Treat like a little flower.
Like a little flower.
Oh, my God. It makes me want to marry him.
I know.
I'm going to treat you like a little flower. I'm going to carry you. I'm going to nurture you.
I know. It makes something of your Snow White analogy, doesn't it?
It makes a mockery of it. Took it to the next level. Now, in Buddhism, the idea of the flame is your sort of higher self, and you've got to nurture it and look after it. You've got to guard it. You've got to prevent it being blown around by lust and desire and fear and rage. You have to protect this little flame, or as Klopp would have it, flower. It's like that there is some sort of transcendent or ulterior force that's not entirely rational that you can engage, and that it's beautiful to see it. We all recognise something's happening.
Yeah, and as he's very relatable, isn't he, Klopp? Because we all have had that experience. I don't know if you have or us, but with a house plant, that they can be very pesky.
What do you mean? You've had some momentum with it? Well, look at this beauty, the famous
that's
plant.
Doing ever so well. I've not yet seen you water that one. But
I don't. But I give it all of my transcendent love. I stay away from it. But I know that this plant here, that if you watch my YouTube videos that me and Gareth make, this plant is very much my spirit.
Yeah, there's always comments about the plant and the wood pile. Yeah.
The plant and the wood pile, they're the real stars of the videos. They're not, there I am riffing on these complex themes. There you are putting together brilliant narratives around corruption. Who gets the glory? Old Planty and Woodpile. The opposite ends of the botanical life scan.
Well, it's got momentum. That's the thing, isn't it?
It's loaded with momentum, but you know that momentum takes it eventually, the wood pile, because it will become a tree, and then it'll be chopped down, and then it'll be burned, and I'll warm my toes. Sweet lady momentum, I call you. Now let's see what some people's responded in response to humiliation. We did a question about humiliation. Did you see the video I made? Did you think I looked cute?
Cute's probably not the word I'd use,
Fair
but
enough.
I did see the video.
Okay. Neil Warmington. I went to see Arsenal, Watford, at Vicarage Road when I was 10. I was with my granddad at the away end. We were so crammed in, I was lifted off the floor and just floated along to the ground. I remember feeling upset. I was so light I couldn't get there normally like everyone else. You were carried by momentum like a little flower. He was, Neil. The big Shane Clark go. My biggest was wearing a Nottingham Forest goalkeeper shirt and seeing Mark Crosley in the pet shop and him completely ignoring me. Obviously he was the Forest goalkeeper. I didn't invade his space. I just looked at him with a big smile. I lost my love for football after that. What was he doing in the pet shop, the Forest keeper? What was he up to in there? He's up to something, I'll tell thee. Harry on Twitter. I farted in the car on the way to Liverpool.
It sounds like something you'd tell me.
I farted in the car. The window was opened by the driver in a mad panic, and my ticket flew off the dashboard and onto the M62. Luckily, my mate had a spare ticket. As a Hull fan, who are famously flatulent, drawing 2-2 at Anfield clearly wasn't a game to miss. Ha, ha, ha. I like that whole story. Wind throughout it. The wind of flatulence, the wind of the car, and then the winds of change at Hull.
Yeah, so that's his biggest disappointment, is farting and losing a ticket.
Yeah,
it's pretty, actually. You would remember that, wouldn't you? Oh, it isn't disappointment, it's embarrassment.
My husband is British and a diehard LFC fan, says Angela, mum of London, via Instagram. When our son was born, he bought him all kinds of Liverpool onesies and bibs and that. But every single time he put one of them Liverpool items on our son, he would literally barf all over himself. A critique. Obviously a little Everton fan.
Yes.
That's what he was.
That's always a thing, isn't it, with like new dads or mums trying to get their offspring to support their teams. Is that something you're going to try and...
I've dressed them up loads in little West Ham kits. They get a new one every year.
Yeah.
And then from West Ham, thank you, West Ham. And I dress them right up.
Yeah.
Come on, West Ham. West Ham's who we're like, right, now this is West Ham who we care about. We don't care about that team. What is that one? Who's that one? Who's this person? We don't care about any of them. We care about this.
Yeah.
This is what we care about.
So
they're very resistant to
how are you going to handle that as they grow older and do find out that there are other teams? What's your local team to hear? What would it be?
Maidenhead, Reading.
Right.
Something like that. Or Wickham, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be all right. Those supporting
all
Reading or
good
Wickham.
teams.
Yeah.
All good teams.
But what if they turned around and said, I don't know. What would it be? Chelsea.
Spurs. I'll draw the line there, kids. Look, you're free to be who you want, identify however you want, become whatever you want.
Mind you, at the moment, why wouldn't they support West Ham? Flying high, West Ham.
Beautifully organised, brilliant football team. And perhaps we can point to a great moment in the history of West Ham United, all in the form of a peroxide blonde playboy known, the wearer of the number 8 shirt, that gorgeous Glaswegian, Frank McAvenie. Now, did you do some research, Gal?
I've done some research, yeah, not knowing loads about Frank McAvenie, other than knowing that he's one of your favourite players and obviously a West Ham legend.
I love him.
So I do know some bits, and obviously he's a kind of not controversial figure, but he was a playboy, wasn't he, in his day?
Yeah, he was the 80s. It was all right. He was a womanising sort of
guy,
of
George Best type.
Yeah, that's right. He was, but then it was the different times.
Different times, indeed.
What other things I know? Well, what I know about him is St Mirren, us, Celtic, us. Then I don't know what else after that.
Well, apparently, he nearly went to Arsenal. When he, I think it was maybe before his second spell going back to West Ham, he could have gone to Arsenal and the deal was nearly done. A bit like we said about Barnes nearly going to West Ham. And he turned Arsenal down. And that season, Arsenal went on to win the title under George Graham and West Ham got relegated. So what a kind of pivotal moment in your decision making in terms of your career to not go to a team that go on to win the title and instead going back to West Ham out of, I guess, loyalty and then getting relegated. And then I think when West Ham went down, he got that really bad injury.
It says in the notes, he admitted his decision to join West Ham and not Arsenal was based on his love of the club and not on the likelihood of footballing success.
Wow, that's a decision.
That's what he makes his decisions based on, Frank.
Yeah.
Love.
But tricky, isn't it? You know, sliding doors moment and all that. I guess another sliding doors moment is going on Wogan, which was for listeners now, they might not even know what Wogan is. But
Wogan's a talk show. I can tell him in an instant.
Wogan was like a massive talk show.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, and in those days it was. I mean, there isn't an equivalent now, is there? You'd have to go to the You'd have to go to the States to find a kind of equivalent where you'd say Letterman, something like that.
You'd have to travel through time to find an equivalent to Terry Wogan in the 80s.
Yeah, huge.
When Frank went on it, what?
Well, he said that was like a turning point in terms of he became a celebrity. And after that, you know, I guess what he's suggesting is that then things like offers of all sorts of different, you know, lifestyles and women and that kind of stuff, which I'm, you know,
he
can
made
be careful around.
Lifestyle choices.
Yeah, exactly. That came from the fame of Wogan. Maybe that, you know, we kind of like maybe slightly dismiss Wogan or look at it in a kind of comical lens now. But I guess it had that ability to make, you know.
Yeah, it was good. Hey, do you know what as well? He wrote an autobiography, or at least had a biography, and the intro was by Ray Winston.
Really?
Yeah, Ray Winston. We liked him. He done our tackle against QPR in his first game.
Yeah.
We know he's one of us.
I wonder how many
I'm quite happy with that impression.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Better than the Conte.
Better than Conte, yeah.
Hey, what's the matter?
Yeah.
I'm coming to manage your football club mid-season. That's actually offensive.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the word.
That's offensive.
I wonder how many West Ham players have asked Ray Winston to write the foreword for their autobiography. It must be a few.
All of them.
Yeah. Have you ever been asked to write a foreword for a player?
No, I haven't been asked.
You should be.
Why don't someone ask me to do their foreword?
Who would you want to do? Noble? As Noble must have had one.
I'll do Noble's. Yeah, no
Why don't
problem.
you offer it? Why don't we make it part of this podcast?
So get Noble's book published.
And you do the foreword. Because I think yours would be better than Winston's.
It would be, because
Exactly.
I'm actually a writer.
You're a writer.
And Ray Winston, let's face it, is a very successful actor and a very charismatic and powerful man in many, many ways.
Yeah.
But what he is not is a writer of intros.
Well, I think next week we've got Carlton Cole on the show.
Carlton Cole!
Don't know if he's done an autobiography. If he hasn't, that's an opportunity.
Carlton, do an autobiography called "Always Believe You're Indestructible," and I'll write the intro.
Yeah.
For you.
Who else? Who else is going at the moment? I mean, there's future play. Bowen, I think at some point Bowen's going to have one, isn't he?
Rice to meet you. The Declan Rice story.
I think this is your time for forwards in or intros in football autobiographies.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I think it's a...
Why would you even say that it would be?
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, because I guess there's...
You Ben Fostered him.
Ben Foster... No, but we don't want to do Foster. I mean, there'd be no point doing Ben Foster's.
Not after the way he's tripped me.
No.
No, I love Ben Foster.
But...
Write an intro.
I think intro. We could maybe even work on one together.
Then offer it to them.
Offer it to them. I'd pitch in if...
Will you?
I'd be happy to. I'm really
get one
trying to
ready
make this work as an item. I think you can sense...
You've not made this much effort for anything for a long, long time.
No, but I love the idea of it.
Except for the work trip to Lanzarote.
I really want that.
That's really fired you up.
So yeah, and the last thing the thing that's come through my research is, as I said, that injury that he sustained. I think this was
Don't go too heavy on injuries, I will say, because I think it takes people to a dark place.
The reason why it's of interest is that it was Chris Kamara. And obviously Chris Kamara now exists in the context of like funny, lovable Chris Kamara.
Who was he playing for?
Stoke, I think he was playing for at the time. Yeah.
And he came clattering in, knee? Was it the knee?
Well, apparently he broke his leg, shattered his ankle and tore his ligaments. And he had 2 plates and a bolt inserted into his ankle. So no wonder he didn't, go back to his old scoring habits. So
he was mostly metal now.
Yeah, and I think he's written about Chris Kamara and that tackle. There was an idea that he maybe was going to sue Chris Kamara, and he's kind of said he wasn't, but... Yeah, I guess that was maybe in the kind of
I think there's
Haaland,
too much
Roy Keane, the kind of stories about that. But yeah, I'm not suggesting talking about. I guess, but when I'm talking about like sliding doors moments, I guess a few.
Why
of
do you
those.
keep talking about sliding doors moments?
I don't know.
You're
I just.
obsessed. I mentioned it once. You've gone obsessed with it. What do you think, Jen? What do you think we should ask you about?
Oh, never mind.
No, what are you going to say then?
I'm
Whatever you
annoyed
want.
by the sliding doors.
You don't like it?
Why?
You said it a few times. I went.
Yeah, it gets used too
Then
often.
I wondered where the phrase came from.
Well, it comes from the film Sliding Doors,
Yeah.
directed by Peter Howitt, who played Joey in Friends. Not Friends. Bread. God get up and God get out and grab the world by
I would
the
love
balls
to.
and shout,
I'd
yeah.
love to see him in Friends.
Hey, listen, Ross. You gotta stop bothering Rachel, mate. She's not.
How you
interested.
doing? That's how you doing in a Scouse accent.
That's a lot of vectors there, Gal. A lot of vectors. I mean, I think you crossed the streams there to tell you the truth.
So yeah, the partnership with Cotti, that in terms of like you supporting West Ham, was that the one? Was that the one?
Yeah,
that
that's when I become football cognizant.
Yeah.
Is the moment of Frank McAvennie and Cotti. I like Mark Ward.
Yeah.
I like the whole side. I like Tony Gow and Alvin Martin and Phil Parkes and Devonshire. I like all of them. Georgie Paris. I like the lot. I painted a Subbuteo figure blonde.
Because of McAvennie.
Frank McAvennie.
That wasn't just because you fancied a blonde character.
Lifted a blonde one. I also did Kerry Dixon of Chelsea just because I had the paint. I then moved into acknowledging the necessity for racial representation.
Well done.
More complicated to do that, and then I feel frankly that the Subbuteo manufacturers should have dealt with that themselves
They
rather
should.
than leaving it all in the hands of little Russell Brand.
No.
With a little pot of paint trying to do Georgie Paris and John Barton. It's completely the wrong shade.
No.
I mean, it was actually
Too much responsibility for you.
one child. One
Especially
child.
when I happen to know he was a rather troubled child.
Unusual little boy can't carry the burden of racial inequality and necessary representation, particularly after John Barnes came on. John Barnes was
I'm
so
glad you
amazing on
didn't
the show.
tell him the Subbuteo story.
Well, John, it's very little you can teach me on this subject. Let me take you back to Essex in the 1980s. Well, let me tell you.
I wish you wouldn't.
No, please don't, because that was one of the worst places for this kind of problem. Well, it's not because of me, John. I was doing my level best to level the playing field. And it was difficult to get the playing field level because Subbuteo, it got bumpy.
Very tricky, isn't
Very
it?
tricky if you folded it up in a square.
Yeah.
You've got lots of
basically,
creases.
Yeah, don't fold it is the lesson you
Leave
learn.
it on the radiator. Now, eventually I got the AstroTurf version that rolled up into a tube. Brilliant that
Nice.
was. But sometimes I would succumb and fold that even.
But does that make a difference to the playing potential? Because
It's better.
Is it better, is it?
In the world of Subbuteo, the AstroTurf
AstroTurf.
argument has been deftly won.
Oh, right.
In the real world, though, it was never won. It
No.
was always a problem. It was people were never happy about it.
How much Subbuteo did you have? Because it was
A lot.
Did you? Did you have the stands and things like that?
Stands, little
Wow.
people sat down.
Wow.
The stands were everything looked like a prosthetic limb, sadly.
Yeah.
Like the colour. A prosthetic limb of a white person, I will clarify,
Yeah.
now that we're more racially switched on. So a pinky, fleshy colour.
It's because there's certain
floodlights.
things. Look at him showing off.
Don't put Star Wars figures in the stands. What's that? World of Giants?
Did you do it?
Terrifying for the players to look up there and see Lando Calrissian and Solo and Chewbacca.
Too much
Turned
pressure,
up.
isn't
I
it?
can't play in front of Lando Calrissian. He was my childhood hero. Frank, get your head in the game, son. We've just developed momentum. I manage them. I'm both teams.
Right.
I'm both teams. I even had my dad's set, where there was little paper figures stuck in a very heavy base that might have been made out of something like lead.
Was that official Subbuteo?
I think it was.
Wow.
I think Subbuteo's been going for a long while.
Yeah, and they used to, I bet it was better made in those days.
I didn't like it as much.
Right.
The people were card. They were 2D. Whereas our little people were 3D.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I had away kits for some people. Once a player got mangled up, I hated it. The goalkeepers with that little stick on them.
The stick on them. Yeah.
The stick on the goalkeeper.
I guess with the things like the crowd and that, they didn't put enough effort into the detail, did they? It'd just be like.
And also,
You get
they're
the
not
idea.
packed enough.
No.
You need. There's no terrace. Also, you can't have stadiums all the way around because you've got to lay on the floor and play the game. Let's
That's
face
true.
it.
Yeah. Would you stick your arm between?
I beg your parsnip. I was a gentleman even then. No, what I don't like, you only put stands down one side and I
One
lay on the
side.
floor on the other side.
Yeah.
In my little world, only child world,
Right.
playing. hour after hour, recording all the results, knowing in my hearts that I was cheating to make West Ham win the league every season, and actually never really endure a loss.
How did you get around the, and I hope this doesn't bring up any bad memories, but the lack of opposition?
I played them. I was the opposition. I was my own opposition. I was my own worst enemy.
So what would you do? Would you personify the opposition?
Yes. Those the dastardly team.
So would you change personality? Like, would you be a different name?
Gal, let me just talk you through the basics. I'm commentating. So even when I'm West Ham, I'm not me. Like,
I
I'm
see.
the commentator. Okay, oh no, look at this. This is a beautiful run from Julian Dix. Fantastic. Oh, he's playing it in. McAvennie, goal. Oh, my, look at the crowd go wild. Lando Christian's run on the pitch. This is outrageous. This is the side of the game we do not want to see. Boo. Oh, the stewards are taking him away and the cameras are turning. Right now, it says Gary Mabbott for Tottenham. Like, it was like that.
Right, I see. So you're operating from above it all. You're just commentating on it.
See Truman Show.
Yeah.
I'm Ed, what's his face? I'm the God.
Yeah, I see.
I'm God.
You're the puppet master.
I'm the puppet master. I'm God, but I favour a chosen tribe. Like, for example, the Old Testament, the Israelites.
Yeah.
In this, West Ham are the Israelites. They're the chosen people, and they're being ushered to the very top by a benevolent God.
So would
Me.
you not try as hard when you were the other team?
Look,
Like, did you ever get any moment where
I'm not
as
willing
the other,
to
as the
answer
other
that
team,
without
you
my lawyer. I've been advised not to answer that question. Like, remember, it's not always West Ham playing. There's other fixtures. There's cups. There's Liverpool United.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Jenny, you're craning into the mic, even though you can see I'm busy.
Frank's in the waiting room.
Well, I think he
Will I
can
let him
wait.
We're actually talking about
Shall I let him in?
Of course. It's Frank McAvennie.
Do you have Zoom open?
I've got Zoom open,
Okay.
like you wouldn't believe.
I'm not going to mention sliding doors.
Don't. Stop mentioning it. I've not felt well all day. All right, Frank. Frank.
How are you doing, sir?
Oh, hello, Frank McAvennie. Look, here I am. This is me, Russell. Let's start off.
I can't see you. I had to do it on my iPhone because my computer's playing up. So.
Oh, mate. So you can't see. You can just hear me. Well, I'm wearing a West Ham like a shell suit top. And it looks all right. It looks better than when I wear current kits. I do this show with my mate Gareth. He's a Hull fan.
Hello, Frank. Lovely to meet you.
How are you doing, sir? You all right?
Yeah, really good. Thank you.
Where are you, Frank?
I'm in Glasgow. I'm in my home in Bearsden.
Nice.
It's nice, yeah. All the roads are closed, Russell, because of this COP26 is happening next week. So they've shut all the roads down. And
because of that climate change thing?
Yeah, I think me little Greta's coming over. Greta Thunberg, she's coming over.
You can put her up there at Shea McAvennie, I say.
Yeah, I don't think Moya would be too happy with that.
No, it's best to keep all activists, regardless of their age or experience or political persuasion, out of the McAvennie home. Are you married or do you live with your missus?
No, that's 9 years I've been with her. I've been married twice. I thought it didn't work twice, so I don't know why it'll work a third time. So
no, do a different system.
Yeah, well, I'm maybe we'll see. Getting on a bit now, so.
You look well, Frank. I'm happy to see you looking so well. You're feeling all right? Your health okay and everything?
Yeah, it's been good. I had COVID a month ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. But I thought that was it. But I've been all right. I've been fine since. So
yeah. Did you have it bad or was you all right?
Yeah, well, I was pretty bad, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a horrible thing.
Oh God, I'm sorry to hear that, mate.
I had the two jabs. Thank God, Russell. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're well, Frank. It's lovely to see you. I'm only disappointed that you can't see me because I don't know. I think I'm looking quite well, but I don't like.
From the 80s, is it? Is it one?
Yeah. No, it's actually just before your time. It's just before your time. It's the sort of. I think it's a commemorative piece of merchandise to celebrate the 1980 Cup final win. Is what I think. We've been talking about you. We've been talking about you all morning. We've been talking about how, in a sense, you were a figure that personified not just football for a while, but like the sort of spirit of the 80s. When you, how was it, mate? How was it going from like being sort of a normal footballer, as it were, albeit a gifted one at St Mirren, to coming down to London and everything? What did it do to you? What did it do to you psychologically? Would you say that it was overall a positive experience, or looking back on it, can you see aspects of it that were sort of somewhat disruptive?
Yeah, all of it, all of the above. It was great for me. I loved. Do you know what? I waited. A lot of people don't understand. I was at St Mirren 5 years, and I got offered to come to the Premiership or the First Division at the time. Before that, but I wasn't ready. You know, I just don't understand these boys that have gone down now. And I'm thinking, you're not going to get a game. And you know, I went down, and I thought I'm now ready for the Premiership or the First Division. It was at the time, so. I thought, yeah, I'll walk into a team. But you just know it. It's all about confidence, Russell. And I knew my time was right to go down to the big boys. And I wanted to play against the best. You know, that was the main reason for going down England.
What about, how come you didn't go earlier? Weren't the financial incentives
No, it was not. I wasn't ready. I don't think I was ready to walk into a team. You know,
because my assumption would be now, Frank, that the reason players go too early is because everything about the game is sort of dominated by money. It gets harder and harder. Like, even though we're only talking about 20, 30 or whatever years ago, it's in a sense a different world we're discussing, isn't it?
Yeah. Now it is. Well, we had really good money, but it wasn't life-changing money, Russell. It was a great wage to give us a good living. But it wasn't life-changing by any stretch of imagination. I mean, some boys now have never seen the first team and they're earning 20 grand a week.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not even close. And I think it's good for the players, but it's not good in a sense because they've not got that ambition. You know, I mean, we're talking about West Ham. When I went down there, Billy Bonds was still there and he was magnificent. And he didn't let the young kids, they used to go and collect the kits from all the senior players. And Billy wouldn't let them into the dressing room unless they knocked the door.
Wow!
So they had to get permission to go in, and that was their mentality. They wanted to fight to get in that dressing room.
Yeah.
You know, I thought just little things like that. I thought were good. They don't do that now. Imagine young players now picking up the kits for the first team. Just wouldn't happen. You know, they'd all been on the phone to their agents and all that. So,
yeah, it's like there was an understanding of hierarchy and an understanding of tribe and an understanding that you've got to be initiated and it's a sort of an honour to be a member of the team. And when, like, say, most football, like this is obviously a football podcast, and most, like, at the moment, the ambience of the sport is dominated by the result between United and Liverpool. And like that game sort of tells a couple of stories, doesn't it? It's like seemingly of a club that's well run by a dominant leader that has the support of his team. Some players at the peak of their powers, like notably and obviously Mohamed Salah, who's playing in that sort of peak condition where they're operating, it looks like, purely on intuition, versus a Man United team that seems to be in disarray. And even the things you're touching upon around economic privilege and a kind of dislocation from the game, like there are figures in the Man United team that seem sort of like they're in a weird place. I'm just talking about the sending off of Paul Pogba, that moment of Ronaldo sort of kicking Trent, or, you know, the ball was on Trent or whatever. Like when you sort of see like a club like United in disarray, when you see the players in that position, do you think it's because a lot of the coverage suggests that, like, you know, bad organisation, but also like a lack of intensity, which is another way of saying they're not bloody trying hard enough?
I don't get it. I'm a great believer in, you know, you've got to get your best players in the park, and they've got this player. I said last year they'll not win anything with Ole, because I look at Ole and I think, can he come into the dressing room and motivate me? And the answer is no. You know, so, and there's nobody round about him that can do that. You know, I just don't see him coming into the changing room and shouting at Ronaldo. I mean, they've got Ronaldo and they've got Carvani, what you call him, up front, who are two world-class players. Now, you're not going to tell me they two can't play together. We've only got maybe another couple of years where they're both the players, you know, because they're coming to the end of their career. But they're wonderful players. They could adapt and play with each other. And they're bringing on through the young boys. Rashford and Martial, and and they spent fortunes on this other boy that's sitting on the bench. I just don't get the Man United team.
Frank, is it then that you, like a good manager, is able to invest you with a kind of energy? Like, is it when you're talking about like John Lyle, who, like I was just obviously a kid, but I remember him seeming like a fatherly, sort of warm kind of a man. What like when you're saying about like, what people go to is that like the manager might shout at you or whatever. What is it that you need to have? Respect, a little bit of fear? What is it that they need to be able to do to players?
You're not going to tell me that Klopp doesn't shout at the Liverpool players, and you look at Pep on the sidelines. You're not going to tell me there's no a head coming off heads when he goes in the changing room, because he's a passionate man.
Yeah.
Listen, if you shout to someone, these big players just take it, because yourself. The best thing I got for John Lyle, the first game we played at Upton Park. Luckily, I scored 2. But there's a big mirror at the side of the door as you're walking out. And John Lyle says, every time you walk out here to play a game, look in the mirror. And if you can look in the mirror after 90 minutes and be happy with yourself, then I won't have to say nothing to you. Because you can't kid yourself. You know if you play well or not.
Mate, let's talk about some of like your highlights of your time at West Ham United. What are they, mate? What when you think about that period of your life? What are the things that stay in your memory? What are the moments you're most proud of, and that?
The fans were, to me. I've got this little boy, and believe it or not, my accent was a lot stronger then than what it is now. And that's hard to believe. But when I came down, no one could understand a word that I was saying. Even the players, when I was shouting, they all thought I wanted to fight them. And can you believe it? Ray Stewart was telling me to calm down. He was like my interpreter. And nobody could understand Ray, so that was hard. But then the fans just took to me, and John Lyle was just, for me, he was everything. He was like my second. I know it's Walter Smith. A lot of players were saying it. But my second, it was definitely my second dad down there. It was great to me, John, and it's just the whole club. John ran the club from start to finish, and it was a family club. I loved that bit about West Ham. Everyone at the club knew me, and you walk into the stadium now, I'm all right, but some of the people down at the Olympics, they don't even know the players. I mean, that's how far we've moved on yet. It's a business now.
Yeah, what you're talking about, I suppose, is love. It's like you felt love from the fans, like that you were a true representative of the feeling and the spirit of the team, and then a love of the sort of father figure of John Lyle. And now increasingly it seems that it's been corporatized. I mean, the point of our podcast is we just talk about like football just as fans who don't know nothing about it, like other than as fans. And and it's like, what is the spirit that is behind it? What is it that we're feeling? Why has this game become so important and popular? Why are some players like feted and adored? And one of the things that like for me, I liked the glamour of you. I liked that you scored a lot of goals. I loved that you had that partnership. I loved that you got stuck in, and like it was a sort of like, I guess it was that was the first, when you're that age, the age I was, 8 or 9 or whatever. That's when you're sort of developing them kind of hero worship type moments. And it is like, so like football, as it becomes increasingly corporatized and more about money, it becomes harder to feel the purity of like the kind of love between fans and players, the love between the team and the manager, like all of the sort of beautiful sense of togetherness that comes in this sort of tribalized game, innit, mate?
Well, I agree with you totally. I mean, we as at West Ham, we're still so close. All the boys are so close. I was on the phone to Wardy and Tony Gale yesterday, and the day before TC was on the phone. We're really close, and it's didn't win anything. Normally that's I'm close with the Celtic boys that we won a couple of trophies, and normally it's a winning, but we were such a small squad we had. I think we only played 14 or 15 players that season, Russell, which
wow.
is incredible. And we were so many, We were going for everything. That was our biggest mistake. We went for everything that year. We should have concentrated on the league rather than going for the cups. Because if you remember, we had 3 replays against Ipswich, 2 against Man United, and we came through them. That's an extra. It was an extra half dozen games we played.
Yeah.
At the end, probably cost us. Cost us the league. But it was so close. But I just loved it. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the fact that every morning, and I went in and someone's done something, and usually me, and we had a good banter about it and good laugh, and it was just great. It was it was good fun. It was great when the boys come in. They say we're going out tonight, and they were saying that, telling their wives that I wasn't going, so they could get out. Can you believe that?
They were like, right, your presence was an indication that it was going to go too far.
Yeah, I'll go too long. Yeah.
Oh.
It was good, it was great fun. John Lyle was, as I say, listen, everyone says I've done a lot, but I never ever let the players down. And, I never let myself down, didn't let my players, the teammates down.
Hey, did you ever worry that you had a problem with drink or drugs?
Oh, no. No, I wasn't taking it. I wasn't taking them at that time.
Oh, not during.
But someone said, did you ever take a line before you go out? And I said, have you ever took drugs? I mean, I on a chair up and want to sit and talk to the keeper. No. I didn't take it at that time. It was when I got injured for a year, I took it. And then when I started playing football again, I stopped.
Right.
It was after football. We were getting tested all the time. You couldn't, you
right.
couldn't. You couldn't. Even back then, you were getting tested. So, yeah, it was not. Listen, if I'd have thought I was letting my teammates down, John wouldn't have played me. He let me away with a lot because of, I didn't like training, Russ. I hated that. Get the ball out and I'll run after it all day long. And John loved it because the stats would show that I would run more than anyone in a game. Which is incredible. So, I just thought, life's too short and I'm going to enjoy it. And I did.
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying life, which is great. I'm still here. Didn't think I'd be here at this age, but 60 years of age, I didn't think I'd be here, that's for sure.
Oh, it's so lovely, mate. Thank you for coming on. It's lovely to talk to you and lovely to see you looking so well.
Thank you, my friend. When are you coming up to Glasgow on the tour? When are you coming up?
I'm gonna come up. Yeah, I'm gonna come up next year. I'm gonna book some dates in. I'll be in your city. I'll stay up there a night, and I'd love to see you. I'd love you to come to the show, and I'd like to go for a bite to eat with you. Of course, I don't drink, and even if I did, I wouldn't compete with you.
In London, maybe catch a meal with you and the missus. I'll come down with the missus.
I'd love that, Frank. I'd love that, mate. I'd love that. You've got my number still, eh?
Yeah, is it still on? You don't answer it. Yeah.
I will. Frank McAvenie, I love you.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks for coming on, man. It's lovely to talk to you. It's good to see you're still full of fire and power. It's good to see you, Frank.
Of course. Thanks.
Watch out! Don't get involved in that protest.
See
you later, mate. Take it easy. Bye-bye. See you, Frank. Bye-bye. Full of Scottish Celt power.
Yeah.
He's vibrant.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah, he's lovely, isn't he?
Yeah, he's great.
Frank McAvenie.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the closest for you, like, as Dean Windass was for me, really. I mean, I know you've met him before and you've got a bit of a relationship with him, but in terms of, like, childhood hero who you're talking to just about football, that's probably comparable.
Do you know what I've realised is that because of the experience of the phenomenon of fame and celebrity, that you after and sort of automatically do learn how to sort of separate people from what they do, like to the point where I would almost feign the feeling of wow, because like on some level now I've dropped down to
person,
you're just a human being, same as me and like same as everybody, and like I sort of like you know, like, you know what it's like. As you get older and you get more awake, you start to you see more. If you accept your journey, is a lot about letting go of stuff, like letting go of, oh, this is no longer the phase in my life where I can pursue celebrity. This is no longer the phase of my life where I can be promiscuous. It's no longer where I can take drugs, or all those things that have to be let go of. And then I think by default, in fact, you become attuned to something that, you know, this is obviously arguable, but seems at least essential, like you're dealing with some sort of essential thing. So like if you were meeting someone, like say someone that I admire now, like Dave Chappelle or whatever, if I was meeting Dave Chappelle, I would go, oh wow, all right, Dave Chappelle, but I'd also recognise that my job would be to operate on the level of, this is a person, you know, like, and you know, so in a way, like when I've done, the thing that I learned a lot from is when I was about, I don't know, it was ages ago, I did this thing that Billy Connolly and Eddie Izzard and Tracy Ullman, like loads of people, Eric Idle's thing, like people that I really admired. And I was in like some sort of sulky ass mood, like it was in Los Angeles doing these shows at this theatre. And I didn't feel like that. I felt like, I don't know, like I weren't enjoying it. And I spoke to someone and I went, just like think of yourself when you was a kid. Like if someone had said you're going to be doing this thing with Billy Connolly and all these, and Tracy Ullman and that. And I went, oh yeah. So like part of me, I tried to think of, like I cut out like pictures of Frank McAvennie from like Shoot and Match, and like sort of stuck them on a wall. And that Avco kit that we've worn, you know, in here, like that's sort of like him wearing that. And it's weird, isn't it? Because they would have just been photographs took from the edge of the pitch. Now, like there's so much accumulative knowledge of like, you know, of like, if not for the game in terms of the strategy of football, of like the cultures around football, from being around footballers or going into like sort of backstage, behind the scenes places, that it is, you recognise that what you're dealing with is, just sort of a human being. You know, and all of these things are about avatars, aren't they? And sort of little symbolic moments. Like when we spoke to Dean Windass, and you realise he's just like a geezer that was really good at a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I started following him on Twitter this week, and as I did, I thought, why haven't you followed Dean Windass before? And then after a couple of days, I thought, oh, well, this is why you haven't followed Dean Windass. Because as wonderful as he is, in my eyes, he's a bloke, and the things that he's got on there are stuff like just regular everyday things, like, oh mate, I'm going to see you next week type of stuff. It's not dressed up, and it does remind you that these people are just people. And I think Ben Foster, when he came on, you know, spoke to us about that also, the kind of expectation from fans that these players should care more about the game than almost they do about themselves. This idea that they don't have normal lives and that they should be able to park that when they go home and see their families is totally unrealistic.
They can't live out our fantasy. Like all of this is happening in our imagination. It's happening in our imagination. I like, you know, what do I really even remember about 1986 when I was like 11 years old, like going up there with my dad and feeling like that the person who tweeted, like carried along in crowds, and the fear of football and the excitement of football and just the paraphernalia and the noise and the colour and the, you know, sort of, it's not a rational thing, it's a sensational, it's a remembered sensation. And the things that I was looking at, whether it's like Leroy Rosinha or later Di Canio, or when, you know, when I was young, Frank McAvennie, and like that's all of this stuff is projected onto them. But Frank McAvennie, meanwhile, is a geezer having that experience, and John Lyall saying, look in that mirror, and whatever other complexity he underwent as a man and a human being. We have to, because of the limitations of language and the limitlessness of consciousness, we have to have some set of agreed upon signs and principles. But really, other than when you're dealing with something universal like valor or honor or love, we're all in a very private, subjective world of this means this to me. Like, you know, we can roughly sort of sense that, what for you, Dean Windass, for me, Frank McAvennie, for you, Hull, for me, West Ham. But there'll be so many differences in that. It's a sort of, sometimes that's why I think people operate on the level of cliche so often, because you can't, like, cliche is the I would say, the delibidinized or the banalized version of archetype. Archetype is, wow, there's some weird power that we can drop into. And when we talk about Salah in those moments, it's like, oh God, it's like he understands that there's some geometric grid that if he clears himself and if he's done all the preparatory work and the practice and the training and the education and the learning, he can drop into that space. And I think that's the same when you're talking about, whether you're talking about Muhammad Ali or T.S. Eliot. You know what I mean? You're talking like people can...
Brilliant footballer.
It's a wasteland, this guy, where the players come and go and talk of Michelangelo. Like, you know, like that there is, like, I suppose the idea of spirituality is, and the idea, one of the ideas in this podcast is like that there's some sort of truth that we sort of touch upon occasionally and you glimpse it. But all about it is banality and cliche, and you get a great deal of humour from all that crap. You know?
Yeah.
But what we're craving is the truth.
Yeah, you can exist in it for a few hours every week, can't you? You can exist in it when you watch a live game, if it's a particularly good one. When you maybe even when you're watching Match of the Day, although there is a level of almost, not necessarily irony, but there's certainly you're not bang in it. I think the thing that you said about avatars there is that quite often those avatars are created from a kind of corporate perspective, aren't they? You know, that these exist these days, certainly, maybe not in McAvenie's day, but these days, these kind of ideas are created for financial purposes.
Yeah.
And the perfect example of that is Cristiano Ronaldo, isn't it? That what he's fulfilling for Manchester United, and you could argue for the Premier League as well, is an idea that what's very interesting now, going back to the kind of result this week and the kind of follow on from that, is that it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked in the way that, you know, quite often corporate creations and, you know, for profit are done exceptionally well. You know, they work. That's why they keep making these profits. But in the case of Ronaldo, it looks like it hasn't worked.
It's because there are ingredients that you can synthesize in entertainment. I think that's why, you know, it doesn't happen so much now, but when people were derisory about football, or even when people say it's a spectacle, which is, of course, it's true. It's a spectacle. It's bread and circuses. It's a distraction for us, the masses, or whatever. But it is also, there is divine truth and beauty and unity. When he's talking about his love of John Lyle, or his like how they, like, you know, West Ham has loved him, and you know it's like, you know, like that feeling of just like because the connection is felt in a moment of ecstasy or painful disappointment or unfairness. Like, instead of dealing with what Martin Amis would call the thin gruel of life.
The Tim Krul
of life.
Can I suggest you do your fixtures and results?
Look at Jen just steps in like a sort of a gentle goddess.
I almost was crying at this a minute ago.
Can I just
I know it was lovely, but
now just do your fixtures and results. Well, how long have we been
it's 75
talking?
minutes now.
Okay.
This is saying P7. This had stopped saying a time.
Oh, I've got time here. So.
It says P7, Jen. It's only P7.
It was just to cap this on a McAvenie.
Cap it on a McAvenie.
Yeah.
I also love that name.
McAvenie's a great name.
It's got that muck at the beginning, and then the big A, like a mountain, and then the V, which is the reversal of the A, Venny. Nice. McAvenie.
I liked what he said about John Lyle. I liked, you know, what we were talking about before this was that he came back to West Ham, and it wasn't, from the research I did, it wasn't evident exactly what the reason was, but it's obvious that it was love, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was love for a father figure in John Lyle.
Yeah, love is the answer. You don't see people blow their nose these days, huh?
No, it doesn't happen.
It's died out.
Yeah.
You just hold it in.
Yeah, I can't hold that
Hold
in.
it in. No coughing either.
Yeah, I know. I was out yesterday with my kids. Odds Farm, great place. great work on it. Like, it's got one of them slides where it's basically like jumping off the edge of a building.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot, do I?
You mentioned this last time.
It really has made its mark on me. Anyway, there was a lot of people coughing, and I felt,
It's probably that then.
rein it in. There's a war on. It's like I had a little cough myself at one point. Joined in. My kid had a cough.
It's infectious. That's part of the
What
problem.
I'm starting to see was we were all coughing together. Some of the elderly folk.
It does make you cough. Like, it's when people yawn, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
same with coughing for me.
Yeah.
I'll
Is
start
it?
coughing.
Jump in.
That's
I thought it
No.
today. I thought Gareth.
Like at assembly.
That's weird.
I thought Gareth, have you actually got a cough,
Or
or
are
are
you
you
just
just
doing
doing this to fit in? And it was the latter.
Latter. Like assembly, when it'd get out of control, everyone coughing.
Yeah.
Or like, what about when you really need to cough? Or what about when you really need to fall asleep when you're in assembly? Or
What?
like at
You
school?
really need to
Need to-
fall asleep?
Sometimes I thought, I've got to go to sleep now. I can't stand no more of this.
That was why you were suspended so often.
Yeah, I got to go to sleep. This is too much. I fell asleep last night. It keeps happening. I've noticed about once a day. Off I go, and then in there is another world, and I don't know who's in there, but it don't make sense. I tell you that. That's the wonderful world of dreams. All right, thank you, Frank McAvennie.
Oh.
Let's do our result.
I do have a few little observations, but do I have time? No.
Oh, come on, let him do his
Can you do the
observations.
fixtures and results and then the observations?
No, let him do his observations, and I'll do the. Come on, Jen.
Right.
You've not took
I'll
your
go. I'll
sunglasses off.
rush through them.
Don't rush
But
them.
I make loads of notes when I'm watching football and listening
Come on,
to
I want
football.
to hear them. Do them at the beginning.
All right. So, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Antonio's Matrix celebration. Because
What
you're
is in
obsessed
there?
with the Matrix.
I loved it when he done that. I love Antonio. I love his Matrix celebration. He leans back. He comes up with good celebrations.
Yeah, he's always got them. He's got the one where he held up the cardboard cutout. That
He
was
did-
genius.
He did a Homer Simpson running
He did a
around on the
Homer
floor.
Sim-
He's the king of celebrations.
King of the celebrations.
Well done, Mikhail Antonio.
I think I
Thou
think
art our king. We should have asked Frank McAvennie about celebrations. We should
Celebrations.
have got lighter. We went from like forensic detail of
Yeah.
Liverpool, Man United, into me accusing him of using drugs while he was a player.
Yeah.
And like he's curious. He's like, what we can glean. He may feel about Greta Thunberg. That was one of my favourite bits. He thinks like she's annoying.
Yeah, it wasn't the best planned, maybe,
Because we
but
could have said, what would you do, Frank? Who do you think does the best celebrations? I only work out what to do after I've done it.
yeah, we post-rationalise and all
We're
that.
post-rationalists.
But I liked the joke that the commentator gave about, there's certainly a glitch in the Spurs defending.
Oh my God, that's a great
very
joke.
Good, very good joke.
Was that the match of the day?
Yeah, match
Sort
of the day.
Yeah.
And then David Moyes didn't change his clothes after this time.
Why
Wonder
not?
when does
do you
he
think we
decide?
affected him? Do you think he listens to this and he's like, well, actually, I'm not going to do that.
Maybe.
We've got to point those lads.
They said that thing about the lines
I'm
on my
leaving it on.
face.
Actually, I'm not going to move my face during this interview. I'll keep it perfectly still and there won't be any lines. There you go.
At some point, David Moyes has to decide. He makes a decision. I am going to change or I'm not. And I like to think of managers making
in
those
that moment.
decisions.
I think he's doing a wee when he makes that choice. He's done his like post-match debrief, all this little mess on the floor. If you've been in a dressing room after the game, socks, there's stuff everywhere. It's
Stinks.
disgusting in there.
Stinks.
It's like this is like there's been an orgy. And then,
Well, we don't all have that reference.
you know exactly, don't you? Anyway, like he must go for a wee after that.
Right.
He pushes that little whiteboard with magnets. He pushes that out of
Pushes
the way.
that. So it's reset for the next week.
Well, no, just out of the way.
Oh, it's just
he
out.
don't reset. Someone else resets
Someone
it.
else
One
does
of his mates,
Yeah.
Alan Irvin or someone. Then he goes for his wee and it's like, God, look at that beautiful. Then he goes, I think actually what I'm going to do. He doesn't comment on his own
No.
reproductive order.
Most of us don't.
He doesn't look down and try to develop a rapport with it. He just goes, right, this isn't interesting for me. This is regular.
I've
What?
seen him loads of times.
Oh, you again. You were there when
Made
I
my mind up about him already.
You were there when I was a baby. Oh, there you go. And then he's straight in. He goes, actually, I think I'll put a suit on. I've got to get my shit together. I was being mad then. I was developing a rapport with my
Right.
reproductive. Get a suit
So
on.
you think the suit is a reaction to
Yes.
overthinking his relationship
with his own
testicles.
genitals. He looks down and he's like, what? He don't get them out.
No.
When he does a wee gal. He don't pull his trousers and pants down. Although maybe he
Some
does. and
people
that's
do.
part of the way to getting a suit on. Right, my trousers are down. Get a suit on. Jen, why are you looking at us like this?
Are
As
you
if we're
saying
not
we
the
should have done fixtures
best
after all?
broadcasters in history? You look at us like we're cheap. Like we're old fossils. Hey? Like we're shipping a ship. Huh?
A bit of spit came out of his mouth when he said
And I
that.
bang my elbow on the metal bar of the chair.
See what you make us do?
You've made mock
This
of.
is because of Gareth's observations.
Yes.
So you're
They're good. They're the best bit of the podcast.
We're putting
So
this
do
bit
it
You're
first.
going to lose the whole previous hour, Jen. This is it. This boy is a treasure. We've got to look after him. We've got to praise him like we should, like Fat Boy
You
Slim.
get so much praise.
I do these days. It's because I asked for it.
Do you get enough praise, Jen?
No.
Well, do you know why that is? It's because you're a tarantula.
No.
No, you're lovely. You're
Not
lovely.
a Tourette.
I don't know why you're wearing them dark glasses though.
They're
Is
not
it
good.
freaky?
They're not dark.
I feel like I'm dealing with a drug
They're
addict.
not sunglasses.
It does.
They're normal
I
glasses.
feel more connected to you
It does
now.
give off a certain
Don't you remember
mood.
that army advert? I've talked about it enough times. There used to be an army. I'll join the army.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
You won't, don't worry. It won't kill anyone or be killed. Well, hold on a minute. I think that's highly likely. Anyway, you do that advert and then it'll show this army lad in a village, and the villagers are freaking out because the army are there. Even the army, this advert should have been better thought out now that I describe it. And the villagers, let me tell you that the soldiers are white and the people in the village are black. I'm just going to tell you that something about the advert. Anyway, the soldiers wearing sunglasses and the villagers are like, hey, what's going on in our village? What's the army doing here? And then he takes off his sunglasses, the soldier, and the villagers go, oh, can you mind telling us? We didn't know there was oil here. Why? What's going on? And then that goes, join the army. You'll learn little tricks like take your glasses off.
Sunglasses.
These aren't sunglasses. They just have a brown gradient.
Why would
Well,
they
that's
have
what all
that?
sunglasses are.
No,
They're a
they're
brown
not-
gradient.
No, they're not sunglasses.
Why would
They're
you
not
have the
sunglasses.
brown-
They're just got dark lenses. The dark lens is the characteristic
It's
of
not
a
sunglass.
No, this is
They
not a
just
squirrel.
stop the sun scorching your eyes. That's all they
They
do.
protect you from the sun.
Now let's get this off my chest because there's some inequality that's got to be addressed and it's important. Right now, okay. Now I've got a piece of paper here to work out my thing.
It's never good when he starts scribbling
Sounds-
furiously.
Oh, no, what's happening?
Okay, inequalities in the animal kingdom. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Can we
Bees.
relate this to football? Or?
No, can't
Okay.
be related to it. It's too abstract. Bees and wasps. Everyone hates wasps. Everyone loves bees. Oh, they make honey. They die if they sting. Okay. Next up, rats, squirrels. Everyone hates rats. Ugh, look at its tail. It's like a sort of a thin, tendrily genital.
Yeah, aesthetics is that explains that.
Squirrel is basically a rat,
But
but
it's got
everyone loves
fluffy-
a
No,
squirrel.
I
fluffy
fed
tail,
one at the
fluffy tail.
weekend.
Huh?
When I fed one a nut at the weekend.
Several have been killed here this weekend.
And it, like,
My
held
cats
my hand.
Annihilate them. They pull the tail off. You had a nut out of. You gave one a nut. Didn't
Yeah,
you,
it came
mate?
up and it held my hand.
Where it held your hand?
Yeah, I was like, here's
Was
the
it-
nut, and then I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. There's
how
too
you
much
held hands
content.
with a squirrel?
Yeah, it freaked me out.
When's your next date?
Oh, I quite like that squirrel.
Where was it, Jen? You live by the coast.
No, it was in London.
Was it a sea squirrel? You're in London. Right, we're getting somewhere. No, we're getting somewhere. She's wearing sunglasses. She's been to London. She thinks she's better than us.
No sunglasses.
She's wearing sunglasses. She's palling
They
up
were
with
a
her
gift.
squirrel mates. See,
Yeah.
that's what's happened. They were a gift. Who are you visiting the squirrel with?
Just a friend of mine.
Whom?
Oh.
Is
You
it-
don't know about this friend. It's not a. It's not
You
a
don't know,
romantic.
and they go to a different school.
Yeah.
You don't know, and they go to a different school. I was the hardest kid at the school. Look, I'm going to finish this.
What's your last bit?
Snail slugs. Everyone's making the wrong choices in life.
A
Everyone.
slug's just a snail without a side.
Exactly. So why is a slug getting salt poured on it and getting all cussed?
Well,
Whereas
I'm not
the
doing
snail is... Whereas the snail, oh, you got a whirly shell. We love you, little friend. You got your house on your back.
Yeah, my auntie picks them up and throws them as far as she can.
Snails or slugs?
Snails.
As far as she can.
As far as she can. She told me this the other day. It gave me a whole new perspective of my
What
auntie.
direction does she aim it? And where is she when this is
She
happening?
doesn't care.
Is she? These are just the snails in her own garden. She's
She
a gardener.
says they.
She's a king gardener.
She is. They ruin her crops. or
As far
plants.
as she can. And I'm guessing she's aiming for over the boundary.
She is.
All right, but she's not aiming it at a wall or anything.
No.
So snails just...
The thought is got the minute it's left her hand. It doesn't matter where it's gone. She's forgotten about it already.
She's dispatched it. Now, what's her policy on slugs?
I don't know, but you wouldn't pick up a slug.
I did the
though,
other
would you?
day because I picked one up because it was on my path when I was on my way in at Wadd's Farm, I think. And I see that little slug and I go, someone's going to squish you, mate. I pick you up. I regretted it as I picked it up. Its mollusky wetness, its slithering foam, its underbelly gutturals. But I just popped it to the side because I'm a vegan man.
Two of these are actual badges of football teams, aren't they?
The squirrels, we all know those. And
the
those
bees-
Cardiff rats.
The
Sorry.
bees certainly are. The wasps, hornets, I guess, closest.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
and the wasps are rugby.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go. But you pick one, Towns. All right, Gal, do your rest of your observations. Jenny
Rest
was
of it.
furious.
Did you see? I mean, there's something I brought up earlier
love
in
you,
the
Matrix.
season. Matrix, right?
Love you.
Did you see the? Did you see this Man City kit,
That doesn't even look like a proper kit.
mate? It says Man City. It says the sponsor. Where's the badge?
What are they doing?
The badge isn't there. Do you know where the badge is?
Where? On the shorts?
On
the
the back. in a little version of the badge on the back.
What are they playing at? They're doing something. There's the melty badge. There's the movie badge. What are you doing with that badge, City?
It's the same with Milan. Have got the same, and I think it's to do with Emirates.
I felt it looked like they described football to people that had not seen it and said, "Make a kit for us."
Yeah.
And this is what came back.
That is it.
It was a weird thing.
It's really weird.
Like lines across the front.
I don't know why there's not been more outcry. Like if I was I am a fan of a football team. But if I was a fan of Man City, I'd say the badge is pretty important to us. Can we keep it?
Yeah, that's vital. That's the crest. That's the concentration of everything in one little place.
That's all it is.
Look, here's my notes. City's top is like a training top. I didn't go as deep as you. I'll admit that. And then I said, like, someone said long spidery legs of Iwobu. Long spidery legs. Because the thing about spiders' legs is there's eight of them. There's no other spidery.
Are we back on your slug snails tip?
This we could leave that. I don't know that we took that argument any further forward. My point was these animals are too similar to conjure such vastly differing opinions, but I'll work it out elsewhere in my career.
We'll put it in one of the political videos.
Yeah, we'll put that in. Okay, so there's these new... Go on, mate. What's your next
Graham Potter's
observation?
beard update, which I think is very important to keep track of.
I will look... Because I know it's important to you, I looked at it and I thought it was... I still like it.
You like it?
What's your problem? Do you think it's too inconsistent?
It's heading into gnome territory, I feel. And I think last week it was looking good because he'd obviously trimmed it and therefore given it a bit of shape. This week, I didn't think it looked so great.
You think it's mossy or like broccoli? It's like orange broccoli?
Yeah, it's very dense.
Jen,
dense.
Have you looked at it, Jen? Don't just sit there being angry because we're still doing a podcast.
I'm angry.
Look, we had to give Frank McAvennie his time.
Yeah.
We had to.
Out of respect.
And we've
Frank
got...
wasn't the problem.
Who is it? Me?
No.
It's
Is it
me,
Gal?
isn't it?
Yeah.
Why is he the problem?
Observation should have been earlier.
Right, that's it.
Right,
Next week we'll do a running order.
This is my last
We'll do a
bit.
running order, Jen. You're right. It's this lad. He's like Icarus. He's high on his own
So
supply.
the Animal Kingdom bit was definitely
That
a
was
tangent.
pointless.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that. That was ridiculous.
Right, this is my last bit. Hasenhüttl, again, manager update.
Yeah, I've been watching him closely.
You know, last week we said that he
He
looked
said
like
away
he was
Christmas uncle,
just for
tough
Christmas.
Uncle Christmas. He's tough.
Yeah,
he's a tough man.
He's tough,
I won't
but
mess with him.
he looks great at the moment. This week, because I
Weird
thought,
trousers.
he hasn't got... Yeah, so he had chinos. Then what I thought he wasn't wearing a waistcoat. He was under a nice smart jacket. It reminded me of holiday wear, evening wear on a holiday.
What type of holiday? Not a hot place, gal.
A hot place, you know.
You put a waistcoat on a hot holiday? You're going to do this when we have our crew breaking Lanzarote?
This is when I thought that...
Dressed like Hasenhüttl?
This is when I thought he wasn't wearing the waistcoat. I thought it was a kind of light jacket with pale chinos.
That was a giddying match, and I like that lad who come and did his interviews. Goes, I don't know. He couldn't seem to commit to watching Match of the Day. Couldn't he see what he was being asked to say there? What was he saying as well? He's in English, and he was called something like Vittorio Lazzarotti, wasn't he?
He's got an Italian...
He had an amazing name.
He's got an Italian name.
Valenciaga. I mean, there was so many syllables.
Yeah, and he's as English as you like, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he's as English as anybody.
I love that.
I don't know, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it brought me to what's your holiday evening wear of choice?
Well, just a simple light shirt.
Right.
I'm on a holiday. I probably wear shirts made out of a linen fabric, open neck,
Linen.
nice buttons. Yeah, but not a coarse linen, gal. It's got to be soft. Roll up the sleeves a little bit. The hair's nice. I'm fresh from the pool. I'm looking great.
Hasenhüttl had his hair done as well.
Out
Nice
I
and
go.
slick.
Me and the wife. Lovely. Kids as well. Oh, no, they're playing up again. Oh, no, what's the point? Give them a screen. That's the life.
Yeah.
That's
'cause
the life.
holidays don't really exist for you now, do they?
They're over. The children destroyed it as they destroyed so much. Now, let's do these. We better do this bit because Jenny, have you done your observations?
They're done. Fixtures.
Okay, so last week, every week, as you know, like all football-related podcasts, we do the predictions and we do the fixture dickens. Now, we won't spoil it.
I had a terrible week.
Right, so let's have a look.
I'm starting to get grief on Twitter now.
Good, you deserve it.
People mocking me.
You should deserve it. You take it too seriously and you take too long. Now, Arsenal Villa, Rusty predicted the exact right result.
Really?
Didn't I, Jen?
Yeah. And I put your points in little brackets beside it.
Surely thine be the son of the god.
Wow, well done.
When you predict the exact result. Gareth, you predicted, right, so the Villa actual was 3-1. I predicted 3-1, as I naturally would. And Gareth, you predicted 1-1 and Jenny 2-1. So I got 3 points, so I'm doing better. Chelsea Norwich. Russell predicts 5-0. Oh, if I'd just gone that
Wow.
extra inch. Gareth 3-0, Jen 2-0, actual score 7-0. Palace v Newcastle. I predicted an away win of 2-0. Gareth predicted 2-1. Jenny 1-0. The actual 1-1. That disallowed Benteke goal.
Yep.
Everton versus Watford. 1-0. I predict 2-0. Gareth predict 3-0. Jenny May 5-2. None of us get nothing. Leeds v Wolves. I predict 2-2 draw. You predict 2-1 win. Jenny 1-0. It's a 1-1 draw.
Point
I
for
get
Russ.
a point.
Well done.
Southampton Burnley. I predict 1-1 draw. You predict a home win 1-0. Jenny 0-0. It's an actual 2-2. Me and Jen get points. Gareth don't.
Wow.
Brighton City 2-0. I predict, and I get a point for that. You predict 1-0. You get a point for that. Jenny 3-1. It's actually 4-1. So we're doing very well. We're chasing you. We're chasing you down.
You're hot on my heels.
Brentford Leicester. I predict 3-2. The actual score is 2-1. You get 2-2. Jenny gets a point there because she predicted 4-2. West Ham Tottenham. The actual score is 1-0 to the Mighty Hammers. Russell predicts that 100% accurately. Gareth predicted 1-0. Jenny predicts 1-0. 3 points for Jengo.
What did you predict?
1-0.
Oh, nice.
I predicted it
Well
correctly.
done.
Man United v Liverpool. Fool that I was. I went 2-2. You say 0-0. Gareth Jengo gets the point for a 2-1 prediction. None of us knew what was going on. So I got 10 points this week. Jenny got 9 points this week. You got 2 points this
Wow.
week. We're closing in
You
on
really
you, Gal.
are.
We're closing in. Currently, the league table between us is like this. I'm in second position. Oh, no. I'm in second position with 26 points. You're in first position with 35 points. Jenny's in third with 16 points, but she didn't play 2 rounds, I think.
Yeah.
Jenny, go back and predict them and then look at the results. You probably will be winning
Top, yeah.
Maybe.
by the ratios, Jen.
Well,
wants-
surely
she wants the glory.
What about my subconscious?
She wants the
might
glory.
remember something.
I don't think you will remember.
But what
don't
if
think
she,
your
what if she
subconscious is up
wins
to the
and
job.
she didn't?
That is
That would be
surely she is the
Hell
chosen
of a
one.
win.
It makes a mockery of us. I mean, when are we going to do Are we going to do these predictions right now?
Let's do them.
All right, let's do them quickly then.
Yep.
Leicester versus Arsenal. 2-2. Gal.
2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester. Jenny May Finn.
1-0 Leicester.
2-0 Leicester.
No, 1-0.
Okay, I've changed it. Burnley Brentford. I'm going to predict. God, that's going to be a tight game. I'm going to predict 1-1. Gal.
2-1 Brentford.
2-1
So
away
1-2.
win. Jenny May Finn, what are you
2-0.
predicting? To who?
Brentford.
Brentford. Liverpool v Brighton. I'm going to predict that it's going to be 3-1 Liverpool.
2-0 Liverpool.
2-0 Liverpool.
3-0 Liverpool.
3-0 Liverpool. And Man City v Palace. I'm going to predict that it's going to be I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be 1-1. I'm predicting too many draws. What's wrong with me? All right, Gareth.
3-1 Man City.
3-1 City. Jengo.
1-0 Man City.
Newcastle Chelsea. I'm going to predict that it's going to be an away win of 2-0. And Gal.
Yeah, I'm also saying 2-0.
2-0. Jengo.
3-1.
3-1 away win, I'm assuming. Watford v Southampton. Oh, wow. It's an
Ooh.
interesting time for that game to happen. I think that Watford will win 2-1. And Jenny?
3-0 to Watford.
3-0 for Watford. 3-0 home win. And Gal?
I'll say 2-1 Southampton.
It's funny that I do 2-1 away win.
Yeah.
It's funny that I do this job of this, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because I don't normally do
It's the only
this.
time you...
Do the admin. All right, Tottenham v United. Oh, it's a high stakes game.
What
It's
is-
a high
0-0.
You think 0-0?
El Sakiko.
El Sakio. Right, so if United don't get their shit together for that, that's just going to be so significant.
Oh, he's gone, I think. I think he's gone.
Really?
I think he's gone if they lose that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think they're going to win. United.
So
I think
do I.
I think they're going to win it. I think they might win 2-1.
Yeah, I'll say 2-0.
2-0. All right, so Norwich v Leeds, I think Leeds 1-0. And Gal?
I'm going to say 0-0.
0-0. Jengo?
1-0.
1-0. 1-0. Villa, West Ham, I think, please God, we win 2-0. And
Go on then, I'll say 1-0 West Ham.
I
Thank
was
you.
going to say 1-0 as well.
all right, so there we go. We've done our predictions.
We haven't done Wolves Everton.
Oh,
When's that? Monday night?
Monday night.
oh, sorry.
Where is it?
It's at Wolves.
Wolves, Everton. I'm going to predict that. I don't know, man. I should have written that in a different place. I've really messed with the columns. I'm going to use the line above for this, Jen. All right, so Wolves, Everton. I think Everton best get their shit together and win 1-0.
I'm going to say 1-0 Wolves in that case.
And Jen, go.
2-1 Wolves.
Do you think this is bad radio? This bit of the show,
But it's
Probably.
at the very
Like just
end,
us
so
saying
it's okay.
scores. We sort of rush it and stuff. Do you think people turn off here?
Yeah.
Don't, guys.
They might
Stay
have
with
turned
us
off
because
a
we
lot
want to hear
before
your
that.
reviews. We want you to participate. Sorry, Jengo.
They would have turned off maybe before. This is the very end.
Well, then they would have missed that lovely bit about Hassenhuttl.
Yeah.
And some of those were some of the
Yeah.
best bits
Or maybe
off air.
we don't do our predictions. We only do the result. Like we can do
Do the
off
results.
air and just do the results because the results is good.
The
'cause
results is funny,
Yeah.
but the predictions we could do off
predictions
air.
is
But I think
boring.
that's good producing, guys.
Yeah.
We'll do them just off air. We'll do them off air because they're boring.
Yep.
All right, sorry for boring you. This podcast is sponsored by, you know, those sort of vegan meats you can get.
Oh yeah.
This is sponsored by those. So give them a go.
Right. Any in particular?
Not really, just any of
Like,
them.
Not the bacon.
Oh yeah, like the bacon. Is this sponsored by the bacon vegan?
I remember those bacon ones. I remember having them around your house, and they look like child's insoles, you know, for shoes.
They were Charlton Soul Scout.
Damn you!
That's what I live on these days.
Didn't even have kids at the time.
Nope, I just
Very weird.
kept a lot of insoles. But you never know when you're going to have kids and
True.
when their feet are going to need protection. Look at Jen's weariness.
Sorry, Jen.
I love you, Jenny May Finn. Football is nice, isn't it?
I think we've proved it.
We've proved it beyond all doubt. Thanks, Frank McAvenie. Give us your reviews. Subscribe to this podcast. Let us know what we should be doing more of and less of. Tell us. Perhaps you could tweet us and tell us if we should get rid of those scores. I think we've decided we have. Football is nice.